Alright, this is the makeup look that I wore to my birthday dinner, and I loved how this look turned out. I wanted something neutral but still really glam and like a full face of makeup, and I thought it'd be kind of fun to switch things up and do more of a voiceover style tutorial today, so let me know your thoughts on this style, but let's get started. So I have nothing on my face right now, but I do have a self tan on, and I always start with my eyebrows, and my brow routine has just been getting simpler and simpler. So all I've been using is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Brow Wiz in medium brown, just because I like a thin brow pencil, and I just kind of use this to outline my brows and fill in any sparse areas, and I like that this pencil is very blendable. Quick little before and after, but I've really been liking this more softer brow style on myself. And then I went in with primer. I used the Smashbox Pore Vanishing Photo Finish Primer. I've been liking this primer a lot because it's very smoothing, it kind of blurs the skin and mattifies just a tiny bit. And for foundation, I use the Fenty Beauty Soft Lit Foundation, and I'm using the shade 180 with my self tan. I had put this foundation away just for a few months to kind of get myself to use some other products in my collection, and I recently grabbed this out and I just forgot how much I love this, and I cannot stop using this foundation when I want more of a fuller coverage. So of course, since I'm doing like my actual birthday glam tonight, I wanted more of a fuller coverage look, so this foundation is perfect for it. And for my foundation brush, I use the BK Beauty 115. My skin has kind of been improving recently, and it's because I've been back to using my tretinoin that was prescribed to me like a while ago, but I finally got in the routine of using it again, so my skin is just a lot smoother and a lot less blemishes overall. So even with doing one layer of this foundation, I was super happy with how my skin looks, so I didn't even use my NARS Soft Matte Concealer on top because I really felt like I didn't even need it today. So I kind of like to jump around my face when I'm doing a full face of makeup, so then we zoomed in. I'm going to start on the eyes. I used my favorite eyeshadow primer, which is the Rare Beauty one, and then of course for my eye brushes, I'm going to use my brand new eye brush set with Sigma Beauty. I have been getting such good feedback and just so many nice comments from you guys about this set and about this collaboration, so I just want to say thank you so much, and I know that a lot of you guys have ordered them, and hopefully you get them pretty soon. So the first brush I'm using is the AB1 brush, and I'm using that to blend out my eyeshadow primer. And then I always like to set my eyelids with a little bit of translucent powder. I'm just using the Huda Beauty one. I used two different palettes today for this look. For the first palette, I wanted something neutral, so I wanted to grab the new Sigma Spectrum palette. But when I forgot to mention, if you are shopping on Sigma's website, you can use my code ANGELABRIGHT to save, and it does work on my brush set and my eyeshadow palette as well. So going into that Spectrum palette, I took the shade Beach Grass on my AB2 brush. This is my fluffy blending brush, and I'm just blending that shade back and forth in my crease. So this is going to be my transition shade, and this is just going to give me a nice smooth base to work with and really help the other shades blend nicely on top. And then on that same brush, I picked up Camel, which is kind of more of a golden brown shade, and it is a little bit deeper than Beach Grass. And so I took that on the same fluffy brush, and I'm just kind of lightly dusting that on the outer part of my eyelid to add some depth, and then taking whatever's left over on the brush into my crease area. Then I went one more shade deeper, and this time I took this on my small blending brush because I wanted a brush that's small enough to fit in that small outer corner of my eye. So I used the tip of this brush to pack the shadow on my outer corner, and then because it's a blending brush, I can also use it to soften the edges. And then I went back to that first fluffy blending brush and just kind of blended over everything to make sure all the edges were nice and smooth and soft. Next, I took the shade Cornucopia on my AB6 brush. This is my small detail brush, and I just use this to stamp that shadow along my lash line. Now, this brush is really small, but it's not like your typical liner brush, so it's not going to give you a super precise line because it kind of is more meant for smudging and just really small detail work. But because I wanted more of a smokier lash line, this brush worked really nice for me. But if you're wanting something a bit tighter, I would recommend just like your typical liner brush, like the Sigma E65. But I just took that dark brown shade and I stamped it across my entire lash line. I start on the outer corner, and then I always like to make sure I get in that very inner corner of my eye. I've really been liking that look on myself recently. So like I said, I'm kind of going for a thicker, smudgier line of liner. So after I stamped on that shadow, I just went back to my small blending brush and kind of ran over that line just to soften it out a bit more and kind of blow out the line. Now for my shimmer shade today, I decided to go into my favorite shimmer in my collection, which is from the Get Stoned palette, and it's the shade Champagne. There was a a while where I could not stop talking about this shade on my channel. It's literally my favorite neutral shimmer shade ever. I don't know if this palette is available anymore because this is a very, very small business, and I know she was kind of focusing on some lip products now, so I don't know. I'll link it down below if I can find it. But I took this champagne shade on my shader brush and I just stamped that mostly in the center of my eyelid, but I did bring it into my inner lid area. Then I curled my lashes and used my e.l.f. Lash and Roll Mascara just to do a light coat. And then, of course, I'm going to pop on a half lash. I'm wearing the Bright Lashes half lash in Flair. And this is more of a bolder, kind of thicker style half lash, but again, I'm going for a glam look today. And then I wanted to add just a little bit more darkness to my lash line, so I went back to that small detail brush in the deepest shade Peppercorn and just added that to my lash line. Now that the tops of my eyes are done, I like to go back to my face and kind of finish up that part of my makeup. So for my blush, I took probably one of my favorite blushes in my collection at the moment. It's the Huda Beauty blush filter in the shade Sunset Lychee. It's just like the perfect mixture of pink and peach together and makes such a beautiful blush for summer. And I use my BK Beauty 116 brush to blend that out. And I do like to do a few layers of this blush. You guys know I love my blush. Moving on to under eye concealer, I've been using the NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer in the shade Creme Brûlée. And I use my AB1 brush for my brush set to blend out my under eye concealer. Then I'm going to set my concealer in place with my favorite under eye powder. It's the Huda Beauty one in Poundcake. I just love how this blurs and smooths my under eye area. I'm just so impressed with this powder every single time I use it, and it really does help my under eyes crease less throughout the day. For bronzer, I'm still trying out the new Makeup by Mario Soft Sculpt Matte Bronzer. I'm using the shade Light Medium here on my Sigma F12 brush. This was only my second time using the bronzer, but I think I'm liking it and I think it is growing on me. At first, I was kind of like, meh, it's just like a typical bronzer. But especially in this footage, I really like the color of it and how it has a little bit more of a golden undertone to it. I think that works well with my self-tanned skin tone here. And I think it looks nice and smooth and not overly done. And then for powder blush, I used one of the new Kosas baked blushes. They just launched 3 new shades. I don't remember the shade off the top of my head, but I will link it down below. But it's like this beautiful kind of bright peachy orange shade. It looks a little intimidating at first, but I thought this looks so pretty, and I think this is another just really good color for summer. And since it is a baked formula, it does have a bit of a sheen to it, which I do like, but I wanted my cheeks to be a little bit glowier, so I used my bareMinerals highlighting blush in the shade Rose Glow. And I am still loving the new One Size Powder Melt Setting Spray. I just love how my skin looks after I apply this, and my makeup really does last longer. I'm over a quarter of the way through this bottle, and this will totally be something I repurchase when I finish it. Now that my base makeup is completely done, I like to go back to my eyes and work on the lower lash line. So I took the shade Star Anise on my AB6 brush, that really small detail one, and I just ran that across my entire lower lash line to add some definition. And again, I'm making sure I really get it all the way towards that inner part of my lower lash line. And then I grabbed my small blending brush in the shade Camel, and I use that to add just kind of a little bit more smokiness to the lower lash line, even more definition. And then I went into my palette with Sigma and I grabbed my favorite highlight shade, which is Bright, and I used my AB6 brush again because it's so nice and small, and I always put this shade in my inner corner and right under my brow. To brighten my waterline just a little bit, so I grabbed this Makeup Forever liner in a nude shade. And then for lips, I lined them with the Jones Road lip pencil in the shade The Nudist. And then I grabbed an old favorite. I haven't used this one in a while. It's the Makeup by Mario. Oh my gosh, I forgot the name of it. lip plumping, juicy something. It'll be linked down below. But I love the shade of this, and it really does give that like juicy lip look. And then I used my AB6 brush again just to kind of soften my lip line a little bit and make sure those two products were blended together. I'm telling you, this AB6 brush can do so many things. And that was the final makeup look. As always, all the products and brushes I used today will be linked down below. And don't forget, if you want to check out my Sigma brush set or the Spectrum palette that I used today, you can use my code ANGELABRIGHT to save some money. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one.